Hello, it's me. Hello. Hey y'all, you see me when you're following FYPYTYMCMBAMGDDG because today it's Vahosi Revenge Confessions episode. I'm not sure if it's 6 or whatever, but it's Vahosi Revenge Confessions. And just like always, let's get it. Grrr. Right, before we get it, okay? We have a private live on the 30th of May, which is this Saturday from 8:15 until like 11:30. If you haven't registered, please go on my profile. There, you see that green thing, go there, register, and yeah, we'll see ya on Saturday. We currently have 10 people, so yeah, the more the merrier, I guess. But anyway, let's get started, child. Before I started, I just want to say, when you are busy with people's husbands, since mujiti hakuna munhu wemune and stuff like that, just be careful, because some people will take it there, especially when they've given you a warning and you say nah, trying to be slick, trying to be Beyonce. You finna suffer, okay? Munido Nasi, as always, we're gonna call her Big Mama, right? So Big Mama says, at that time she was 22 years old, and she had a friend, her own Tanya, and her and their friend were just always talking about crushes and stuff like that. A moment for the you know everything. So her and their friend were always just talking about, our girls talk about relationships and everything else. So her friend used to tell her about a crush that she has. Like, listen, I have a crush on this guy, GGG. And Big Mama was just always like, oh, he's not all there, but listen, I get you, he's your type and stuff like that. So it just so happened one day, like after some months, one got in town, and then wakapota tsigwa. Road here, construction house here. I was gonna say Julius Nyerere, but now I don't remember. But no, it's not Julius Nyerere. Road in a construction house, right? So vakapota vatsikwa ne mshika, and then when they saw Buddha, oh sorry, you know how it is. And one particular guy was like, listen, I can help her if anything has happened with her. I can help her because I'm not in a rush. You guys can go ne mshika and stuff like that. And it was like African movie type shit, telemundo type shit. So this guy was like, let me take you to the clinic, Chichi. And she was like, no, I'm fine. And then the guy mshika just gave her $200. He was like, I'm really sorry, Chichi, like with traffic and stuff like that. And she was just like, no, it's fine, I've upward $200. And then the guy in Dobaga said, I can take you there, don't worry about it. And besides, my car is comfortable. It was a Range Rover Evoque in red. So she was like, okay. And then she was so comfy, right? So anyway, she goes to the clinic, not clinic actually, because it's Avenues. I don't think it's a clinic, right? Cool Avenues, no kaka in this one. Then she was just checked. I got to know, it's nothing serious. She ended up paying like $75, and he is the one who actually paid. She was like, no, Munanti Pamari. He said, no, just keep it, baby girl. And then he's like, she tells him, and he takes her there, and he was just like, give me your number. And those opportunities to say, did you check how you doing? You know how it goes. Those opportunities check like, how you doing type shit. So they start talking, hey, and stuff like that. And she's just like, hey, I'm doing better, and stuff like that. So eventually, this guy's like, let me come and see you. I just want to see how you're doing in person, GGG. And she's like, okay, cool. So on that particular day, she said, maybe you can come a bit later because a friend of mine is also coming, and I wouldn't want you to feel some type of way. And he was like, well, I would love to actually meet your friend, and I can always keep tabs on you through her, just in case sometimes you're just recovering and stuff like that. And she was like, yeah, okay, cool. And they said, well, besides, we're gonna be in the same circles soon, so it's better for me to know your friends as well. And she's like, okay, cool. So Big Mike gets to this place, and she finds the friend. That friend, yeah, I gotta cheat, this is my crush. And the guy Ndovazo Shika. So the friend comes with the fruits, they're talking and stuff like that, and she actually tells Kuti, listen, Musiyaya, that guy Wandaka Kudzo Takandibatsira, he's coming to see me. And she was like, well, I can't wait to meet him. I mean, he's got a Range Rover Evoque in this economy. Mind you, they were 22, right? So anyway, the guy ends up arriving. He don't arrive, and about Piwajin, Vavrua gate, and then he gets in. He's holding a nice fruit basket. He's holding and he gets in. Then the friend is like, oh my gosh, the friend Tukumti Tanya, right? Tanya's like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, hey, Gigi. And she's like, I know you. And he's like, for real? And she says, yeah, I follow you on Instagram. Gigi. He's like, oh, really? And she says, yeah, and Facebook as well. Look, he's like, oh, we actually friends. Hey, what do you say? You know, that type of thing. And then she's like, I'm good, Gigi. That was her crush, right? Big Mama. So Big Mama is like, damn. Now that I think of it, he looked very familiar. And Gigi, and she's like, yeah, that's him, Gigi. She's like, oh, well, lucky for you, you know, he's here, stuff like that. She's like, nah, girl, you know what? You got it in the bag. You take the man because he likes you. He saw you first and stuff like that. So I ain't got no beef with you, girl. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, eventually, you know where this is going to go. They start dating. Her and Big Mike start dating. They date for a full-blown year. They were going on vacations. She says every time she'll be on a menses, he would send a hamper, kubasa, or kumba, wherever she be at. And every first day of the month, he would send her flowers, a bouquet of flowers. He would change, sometimes lilies, sometimes roses, sometimes tulips, sometimes daisies, sometimes whatever you can think of, just not roses, right? It was a lot of flowers. So he was romantic like that, and they would go on vacations like around Zim. She says there's no tourist destination that I haven't been to in Zim. Vic Falls, Nyanga, Vumba, all those nice areas. She been there, Kariba, stuff like that. And eventually they started going to Jozi for shopping, and they would go to Durban, Cape Town, Thailand, Dubai. Mind you, they were dating. And one thing about this guy, he would always make sure like he gives her 1,500 per month, 1.5. Okay, I'm joking, it wasn't 1.5. I just like 1.5 more than 2,000, you know what I mean? If you know, you know what I'm trying to say. So he would give her 2K, but let's call it 1.5. He'd give her 2K per month, and he would make sure her tank is filled, as in the car tank. Yeah, in the other tank. Yeah, they were all filled and stuff like that. And you know, it was going well. And then eventually the guy says, listen, I want to meet your family. I'm not trying to look like we're creeping and stuff like that. Eventually they meet each other's families. So this guy was 35 and Big Mama was 22, but he did mention he had a child, and the relationship did not work out because he was quite young when it happened. He was 28, so the child was 7 years old around that time. So he meets the family knows everything about him, and she goes to meet his family as well. And you know, things are just looking good. Eventually he tells Anatete, listen, I want to marry her. Achalugo, I'm gonna marry you. And then Achalugo is like, okay, cool. And then they do the rora. It was so nice, so amazing. Guys, I checked out the decor was mwah. The catering, everything was just down to the T. It was just amazing. It was black and white, so amazing. The rora was so nice. And 3 months later they did a very nice wedding. They got married in Durban. It was a destination wedding, so they got married in Durban, and then they went for a nice honeymoon in Thailand, which was so amazing, right? So anyway, the marriage starts going well and well and well. Eventually though, it gets to a point where they are 2 years into the marriage, and Gina just right? Fertility wise, she is unable to conceive. And the guy's like, no, don't worry, let's just enjoy ourselves. I know what it's like to have a child. Dynamics change once a child is there, and let's not just rush it, God willing, we're gonna get there, inshallah, mashallah. So anyway, they keep trying for a child, and it's not working. It gets to a point where she's so devastated. She's like, listen, excuse me, I'm just try to just chill on that. The guy's like, no worries at all. And they're still doing those nice vacations. They just traveling and stuff like that. They couldn't go to Disney. She always wanted to go to Disney in the US, but they couldn't because every time they tried, her visa was always rejected, but not the guy's. So the guy's like, I can't go, sorry, if she can't go. So they went to China, and then when they were at Disney there, she said she tested positive for pregnancy, and she was so happy, and it was just amazing. And the guy was like, oh, we're gonna give our child a Disney themed name because we found out about the child when we at Disney. The way she found out was there are certain rides that do not have to be used by people who are pregnant, and one Chinese lady was like, you look pregnant, and she was like, no, I'm not pregnant. That's how that lady tested, and was like, you can't go in there. They always have that third eye, Chinese people, those traditional mummies. Yeah, yeah, so that's how they found out. And they were just saying, how about we call her Daisy, Minnie, all those Disney characters, Eleanor, stuff like that. And the guy's like, okay, cool. So at this point she's so happy because this is 2.5 years of searching for a child and finally having the child. So you can just imagine 2.5 years of searching for a child and then finally having the child. It was just like so amazing with the person you love and stuff like that. And the friend was also happy for her, like, oh friend, I'm so happy for you, GGG and stuff like that. So she says when she was 4 months pregnant, her husband, there was a particular time that he had to travel with work, but she couldn't because she knew soon she'll be going on maternity leave. So she was just like, listen, I can't be just off at work because soon I'll be on maternity leave. So how about you just go away, guy, and another time we'll go together. Because the guy had like said, listen, we have to go together, because he was going to Japan and he was like, we need to go to Japan. And she said, no, I can't, stuff like that. And eventually the guy goes alone. So Paga Sarah, the guy's posting on Facebook like, oh my gosh, amazing, konnichiwa, harajuku babi, all that stuff, Japan, man, so he's just having fun posting and stuff like that. And there was one particular comment that was like, that it just a striking resemblance to like, they together. So she goes to that person's account, and account year was open, and she was like, they're posting same background, same scenery and stuff like that. So basically these people are together in Japan. But she was like, listen, so I would get it, it's okay. And then I'm sorry, this is my first time wearing a nose stud like this. I love it. So it's like, oh, double bling bling. So anyway, she starts checking out the profile and she was just like, oh well, maybe and stuff like that. And the guy comes back and he starts showing her pictures of the lady as well, like, oh, these are my colleagues at treatise and stuff like that. She's like, oh, okay, so I didn't have to ask him, so it's fine. And they things are okay. And then when she was 6 months pregnant, she remembers one day the husband left the house in a hurry. He left the phone on the nightstand. And that day she was sleeping like angagarara. Sorry, my notes. Oh child, I'm back. Sometimes my notes in there number kanga no doma, you know what I mean. So she just kind of filter. So anyway, he left the phone on the nightstand, right? And when he left the phone on the nightstand, a message came in like, I hope you know this trip, she's not supposed to come. That's what the message was like. She checked out the name. It was actually that lady from the office. And she's like, I wonder. Then she just took a picture of the phone and the message, and she's like, okay, cool, let me just keep them. And then that night the husband comes back home. He's like, Big Mike comes back home. He's like, hey, so kubasa, we are going kwakati like for work. And she's like, oh well, I remember that was the 1 year they were supposed to travel to Australia with work. It was an international company, so he works for an NGO. So she's like, well, I would love to go to Australia. He's like, no, you can't, the heat in Australia, and you're like 6 months pregnant, you can pop up anytime. She's like, no, my doctor said I'm good until I'm like 34 weeks. That's when I can stop, but now I'm good. And he kept giving her reasons like, don't come. And she's like, no, I have to go, I have to come with you. And then eventually she blurted it out, is it because someone told you to send an name? What do you mean? She goes, well, that Anita, right? Anita sent you a message. She's like, no, he wasn't talking about that. And she said, well, unlock your phone. He's like, no, I can't. Hey, you're not trusting me. She's like, okay, cool. Now, eventually the husband says, well, you can go. And she says, nah, now I don't want to go to Australia, it's fine. Then she finds out Kuti, this lady didn't go to Australia, right? She's around through Facebook. She's around. And then when the husband came back, it was abrupt. I started that time. She says one night she was sleeping, and when she was sleeping, she just had a dream of someone like pressing her belly and beating it up like papa. And remember, she's pregnant. So when she woke up, her sheets were spoiled a bit, and she called her friend, her Tanya. She's like, Tanya, bro, this is what's happening, but I can drive. Let me just rush to the hospital. Let me catch you there. And the friend is like, okay, cool. And she says it was like 1:30 a.m. And my friend, I arrived at the hospital at 1:45 wife and my friend arrived at 2 a.m. on the dot, and she's like, hey, what happened? And she's like, ndota ndarota and stuff like that. And the friend is like, oh child, I'm very sorry. And then the doctor said, oh no, you're fine, but just be careful and stuff like that. She's like, okay, cool. So the husband of Atungufenra Natanya Tishandoraitika. So you know that side, they're like 6-7 hours ahead of us, just depending on Wales, Victoria, wherever. So it was like around 8 a.m. in the morning, and he was like, well, I have to come back home. When Tanya called him, but you know, she's fine. It's like, nah, I know, so let me just be there. So and a couple of days later, she had the same dream, and this time she just saw nails, like long nails, like pressing into her belly, and then coming out of her belly akazala ropa. And then she woke up. Actually, her husband woke her up. He's like, Iwe. She's like, what's up? And then the sheets were wet, like soaking wet with blood. He's like, oh my word. And then they rushed to the hospital. And a couple of minutes later, after they've been helped, Tanya was there, and a couple of minutes later, after they were helped, it was like stillbirth. Unfortunately, they lost the baby, and you know, she was stressed, like, and this has happened, like, you know. And a couple of weeks later, like some months later actually, they had a work function kubasa, like the husband's work, and she said, you know, like your plus one. He's like, oh, and they say, and then eventually this lady now kubasa asks her, like, how have you been feeling since your miscarriage? And she's just like, yeah, you know, this and this and this and this, but listen, I need to ask you something. And then the lady's like, what? And she says, you know, there was this other message when you guys were supposed to go to Australia, and then I realized you didn't go eventually. And she's like, oh, well, what about it? And then she's like, well, I just saw this message. And she's like, honey, if you can handle the eat, and if you can ask your men, don't be asking me silly questions, okay? Anyway, bye. I was just doing formality's sake, but if you're gonna be asking me stuff like that, like, I mean, go bye. She's like, oh, okay, cool. And then she saw a message again pop up, and this time it's, I didn't like your wife asking me questions. Tell her to stay in her lane because I stay in mine. Anyway, love you lots. XOXO. I saw the messages, so that's why I'm doing it to Matara like that. XOXO, and then kisses. Then she's like, okay, now this bitch knows. And then she texts her on Facebook. She's like, girl, hey girl, I'm just coming to you as a woman. Listen, I ain't got no beef with you. Like, I don't know, maybe my man came to you and stuff like that, but I'm his wife. Can you, like, if you guys are doing anything, can you, like, not do it? And she's like, oh, well, tell your husband that I'm not married to you. She's like, okay, rightfully so, no worries. And then she asked the husband is like, nah, nothing is happening. Hey, she comes on to me, but I don't want her. Then it changes to we just flirt, and then it changes to we used to do things, and then it changes to, you know, it just kept changing. The narrative kept changing until she checked the phone and she realized it's a full-blown relationship affair. Let's not call it an affair, because it looks like they've been together before she was there, right? So she didn't like the fact that you chose a 23-year-old, you married a 23-year-old, and you left me. I'm 32, I'm not that old, but you left me for her. Like, why would you do that though? You know, and you know, that's when she realizes, like, oh my word. So literally, but like, she needs to respect the fact that the man chose me and not her. And then she's like, sis, please leave my man and stuff like that. So remember, she's 23 and this lady's like 32, so she's 9 years younger than her. And I'm sure I'm going to come say that, girl, please, you know. And then she had another pregnancy, and then when she was 4 months pregnant, she lost the baby again. The same dream happened, but this time it was someone putting their fingers in there and then taking out a whole fetus out of the tummy. And then when she woke up again, she lost the baby. And at this point, she tells her friend Tanya, she's like, Tanya, I never told you this, but this man is doing things with ABCD, and I never told you this, but that night I lost the baby. A woman came and they started beating my tummy. And then the second time it happened, when I lost the first baby, a lady came with nails and stuff like that. I never told you this, but now I'm just thinking it's this lady. She always has long nails, and now I'm starting to feel, And then the friend is like, listen, if you had told me about this, we would have done something about it. So let me tell you something. Me and my mama finna come take you. You're gonna tell your man you need some time on me, and we're gonna go to my mama house and we go to the witch doctor. And then she's like, you got a plan. And then she tells her hubby, she's like, listen, I'm not gonna come home. I'm finna be with Tanya. The hubby's like, okay, cool, enjoy your girls' night. It wasn't something unusual. And then, Tanya, they go to the witch doctor at 12:30 a.m. midnight. 12:30 a.m. midnight, they go to the witch doctor, and she tells the witch doctor her story. The witch doctor is like, no worries, I just need the name, the last name of this person, and I need a picture, and I need to do something about this. And the witch doctor is like, don't worry about it. And then the witch doctor does incantations, what, and stuff like that. And he's like, well, don't worry, she's no longer going to be a problem. And she says, are you sure? And witch doctor is like, yeah, I am sure. Your marriage is safe, it's secure. And she's like, okay, cool. Tanya, they left the mom kumba, and then they went to Tanya, and then the next morning the husband came to pick her up. And she remembers as soon as she entered that car, that lady started calling. And like when someone is calling and it's showing, and the man kept declining the calls. He's like, listen, I'm not in the mood to talk to her. And she's like, oh, that's your girlfriend. He's like, nah, I don't know. I'm no longer feeling it. And it was at this point that the husband even confessed, like, listen, I was doing things with her and stuff like that, but we were like full time. I don't want to do anything with her. I don't know. I couldn't go in the same way. So I realized I was being gross and stuff like that. And then she's like, oh, okay, cool. And then she takes Tanya to girl. I think she's and Tanya's like, yes, queen, let's get it, clock it. That's your me, girl. And then eventually the guy starts dodging this chick to the extent he asked the board members, like, can you change this lady's branch? I don't know if you call it a branch location to not this office but to another office. And it was done because this guy was making good money for the company. So they changed that lady. And she was like, I need to talk to you. And the guy kept dodging her to a point where this lady one day came Egapamba, and Big Mama opened the gate. She's like, yo, what you want here? I actually came for you, not your husband. She's like, what's up? And then she says, listen, I'm really sorry. I know I've been doing things to you and stuff like that, but something is really happening to me. I need to know if you did something. She's like, what's happening? And she says, listen, I've been having a very fishy smell down there. Like, even if I bath, no matter how many times I bath my sister, there's a fishy smell and everyone can smell it. And she's like, yeah, I can actually smell you. I didn't know it was you. I just thought. And she's like, yeah, I'm smelling so bad, especially when I'm on my periods. When I'm on my periods, it's so bad. It be smelling big time. It smells to the point of now when I'm on my periods, I don't go to work. I'm sorry for calling them periods, menses. When I'm on my menses, I don't go to work because they be smelling so bad, and people at work be telling me like, there's a smell, and the smell even goes through my clothes. So if I'm wearing jeans, it goes through the jeans, and you know how hard denim is. And she's just saying it's just so bad. I need to know, like, did you do anything? She's like, well, girl, stop it. Like, right now you're irritating me. She's like, no, but Facebook, just girl, please. Take your L in peace. Bye. She's like, okay, cool. And then eventually she calls the guy. The guy keeps hanging up. And then eventually he does pick up. He's like, what's up? And then she's like, listen, I don't know what your wife did. She just can't listen. Whatever my wife did to you, no go concern me. So like, leave me alone, right? And then some days later, this lady was admitted in hospital. But now what happened was she was admitted in hospital with one of the colleagues with the new place. So now this colleague is the one who said, listen, there's something happened. I've been trying to hit on this chick, like regardless of her smelling and stuff like that. She's so cute, and I just want to put her on the list. Like, listen, I hit that, I take that. So we did a little freaky thing, Netflix and chill. And while I was in there, I couldn't get out because something beat me. And people are like, huh? Shanzin Darungani something. And they say he had marks on his dang swinging up. He had things on his dang. He had marks, and like my bite marks, and it was bleeding when they went to the ER. And when he came out, like saw the lady started feeling immense pain, like intense pain, yeah, get so bad. So they went to the hospital, and that's how people found out something is happening. And then, eventually she was told, this is very spiritual. The doctors told her, like, this is very spiritual. This smell, we tested you for yeast infection, we tested you for any type of STI. You don't even have anything present in your specimen to show you at some point you had STI or something. So at this point, this is very spiritual, especially with what happened with the guy. The marks were seen, but they couldn't identify the type of bite mark. Was it a snake? Was it you know what I mean? And they say that guy, when he was going to the toilet, he was crying big time, to the extent, I kid you not, to the extent that at some point when he was in the bathroom, he went to the nurse checked the muchemba, and makoni kwamune some rimajuru okay, it looks like unemajuru, but like the bite mark, we still can't explain it. So he was like, no, she needs to leave me alone. That guy was like, I'm gonna press charges for this and that, and stuff like that. How people just be like in situations like those. And then she's like, can you please tell your wife if she did something to me? I'm really sorry. And then the lady called me, Anita called me. She's like, Big Mama, I'm really sorry. And she's like, girl, I warned you so many times, and you said no. You said I need to finish stuff like this between me and my man. So I made sure my man leave you. I deal with my man, so you deal with your own. She called me so many times. She asked many people, even people from the office, Kuti, can you please reach out to Mkazwa Big Mike, and people, she was like, girl, if I tell you what I tell you and you don't listen, what you expect me to do, I don't know, and stuff like that. So you just deal with whatever's going on your own, with yourself, and she was just like, oh my word. And, eventually this girl kept falling sick and 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 sick, up to a point where Big Mama said, there's nothing I can do, because once I do something about this, it's gonna backfire on me, and I can't risk losing my marriage because of me trying to unlock things you initiated. So I'm sorry. So she fell sick big time, and she ended up going to stay in India, because they say, like, surgically India is quite advanced like that. So she stays in India now because she needs to be close for medical monitoring and stuff like that. Lucky enough, they can work there. And yeah, that's her story. So she's staying in India seeking help. She says, oh, this hell broke loose in 2024. And guess what? After the guy rejected this lady, that's when she realized that something is happening. She might be preggo, and then she fell pregnant. She gave birth, everything good. So when she went, she told Avagudiji, this is what's happening, my miscarriage and stuff like that. Now let me give you the big reveal. This lady was going kunobatsirwa so that this lady can keep losing babies, and then she can give big Mike babies, and then he can marry her and reject her and stuff like that. So before y'all judge, I know you're already judging, I know. I just leave the big review for now. She was fighting fire with fire. But that's on you. She was the first one kufamba. Before you start judging Big Mama, okay? She was the first one kufamba, trying to make sure that she loses babies, trying to make sure that, hey, and then this is what happened to her. Now she's staying in India, monitoring her medical conditions, because she cannot be in Africa, because we are not advanced enough to help her with whatever is happening with her coochie. So before y'all do this thing, Shaisan and stuff like that, just remember some women who go there, and people fight fire with fire. Akir. Yeah, you can fight fire with fire. And this is it for Vahosi Revenge Confessions. Do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tanata Marimira, or click the link on my bio and hit subscribe. I love you all. Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Money Day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Mwah.